Right now, I want to welcome to the program from the New England Talk Network, Mr. Michael Graham. Michael, how are you, sir?
I am doing great. I get to do talk radio in New England, so I'm one of the luckiest people on planet Earth. That's all there is to it.
Yeah. Well, there's never a shortage of things to talk about.
Not thanks to people like Swampscott, Massachusetts Selectman Barry Greenfield, who, by the way, has declined to appear in my show the past 2 days. So fascinating.
What?
After the local newspaper reported that he, in the last Selectman meeting last Wednesday, said, there's something wrong here. The Massachusetts state law says that you have to store your guns properly. And we have building inspectors who inspect buildings, and we have fire inspectors who inspect for fire code. But we don't have anyone in town who can go to the homes of lawful gun owners, 600 of them in their town, and inspect how they're keeping their guns. And we need to look at giving someone the lawful authority to go in and inspect these gun owners' homes now that we know who the registered gun owners are. And that was his plan.
How'd that go over, Michael?
Well, Swampscott, Massachusetts, on the North Shore. It's a loony-lifty town. It's very affluent, and even there, it went over like a lead Obamacare plan. He's already fleeing from his own words. So, because I emailed him, after I wrote about it at michaelgraham.com, and I wrote about it for the Boston Herald. He said, I never said any of those things. I go, well, wait, it's in the newspaper. He says, well, I didn't say that they would be armed when they came in your house. You make it sound like they're just going to kick in the door. And so I emailed back, no, I made it sound like you said they wouldn't have to kick in the door because you were going to give them the power to come and look around. It's just an idea. I'm just considering weird. I would be voluntary. It would be voluntary, which, of course, is wasn't the case when he began.
Right.
Because if it was voluntary, you wouldn't need a law. You can always knock on someone's door and say, hi, do you mind if I come around?
And what's fascinating, Michael, is this is all the way across the country in Seattle, Washington. In the last legislative session, there was a bill that would have banned semi-automatic rifles. You could have continued owning them if you registered them with the state, and that registration would have allowed the police to come in, I believe, twice a year to inspect that firearm and make sure that everything was still okay with that. And again, when word got out that this was in the bill, the bill tanked. There was no support whatsoever for this.
Right.
These control freaks. And I really think that's what they are. When you're getting to the point that you say, well, listen, we need to come inside your home, gun owner, and just make sure that everything's okay there. You are not interested in public safety. You are not interested in reducing violence. You're interested way too much in what goes on inside my house.
Oh, completely. And here's what's interesting to me. What happened in Seattle is that somebody, some lawyer in the Seattle city government remembered that whole Second Amendment thingy and suggested that perhaps, hey, look at this again. If it really will save lives, then why did this Swampscott selectman, who said he was doing it for the children, why did he abandon it? Why is he abandoning it? If Seattle, if they really mean it, that this will save lives, why are they walking away from it? And the fact is that two reasons. One is that they know that it won't, that it brings up the entire argument of how lawful gun owners behave, and the crime rate among lawful gun owners is very, very low. But it's also because they for the moment, realize that they don't have politics on their side. But I would just say to the entire NRA community, there are places in the country where proposals like this would never see the light of day. But in places like New England and the Pacific Northwest, if you don't keep the channels of communication open, if you don't have talk radio in your community, if you don't have a thriving gun rights and Second Amendment group on the web talking to each other, this stuff will get more than a hearing. It will make progress. Here in New England, as you know, Cameron, there's not a lot of talk radio left. There's almost no conservative media. But the good news was, as soon as I jumped on this, they ran away. And I just hope that we can, as the country gets, the media gets more and more left, we've got to keep. It's not just enough for us to be talking to our fellow gun owners. Like I said in my Boston Herald piece, the citizen who says, "Well, this doesn't affect me because I don't own a gun or I don't like guns," they're just playing their role in that Martin Niemöller, aphorism about first they came for the Jews, I wasn't a Jew. First they came for the Catholics, first they came for the gun owners. These are your Fourth Amendment rights at stake, and the only people I see defending them are people in the Second Amendment community.
Well, no, exactly. I mean, that's why I said earlier that these are control freaks. This isn't about public safety. This isn't about reducing violence. This is about control, and this is about eroding your privacy, and this is about an attitude that I think is held by a very, very small number of people in this country. Look, Michael, if you don't have anything to hide, then what's the problem?
Exactly.
And what that does is completely undercut the idea that we have a right to privacy in this country. We have that boundary where the door is shut, and you know what? Just because I own a gun doesn't mean that you get to come in and inspect that firearm any more than the mattress police get to come in and make sure I haven't ripped the tag off, right?
But here are two other attacks that are on the way. One is in Massachusetts, they're talking about mandatory liability insurance, which of course is a way to turn your insurance company into a gun registrar. And that fight is coming here, and who's going to be here to fight it? And then secondly, there's the Obamacare fight, because once you say, this is why I think it's so important that we have to win the argument. It's not just enough to mobilize our allies. We've got to win the argument. Once you buy into the notion that the government should be overseeing your health care and directing your life, you shouldn't eat trans fats, you shouldn't do blah, 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 well, then it's completely reasonable to say, well, there's a connection between guns and health and people getting hurt, and therefore the premise of Obamacare invites us into your home. And so if we don't get normal is the wrong word. If we don't get the average person who doesn't care that much about guns to see the bigger picture, I'm afraid we can lose these fights.
Well, listen, Michael, I appreciate you coming on the program, and we'll keep telling these stories. So, what is the latest here? Is this?
Well, they haven't had a meeting since he first proposed. But I'll put it this way: if they had a vote on it tomorrow, he would vote against it. That's where they are right now, because the Second Amendment community has spoken up, and their effects are felt even here in liberal, lost New England.
All right. Michael Graham of the New England Talk Network. By the way, you guys going to get any of those brosurance ads in Massachusetts?
I'm trying to do the new Hosurance ones, the hot chick who says, hey, I hope this guy's as easy to get as my birth control. That's what I want.
How awful are those shirts, man?
Listen, what they're
I'm sorry,
is,
the ads.
You're a woman who's likely to vote Democrat? You must be a slut. Here, let us get you some free birth control. Which, back in the day, as a guy, it would have been very handy for me. I just want to say that. If you'd point out that everyone holding an Obamacare sign also puts out, I would have been very happy in my 20s.
Well, the funny thing is, so my oldest daughter is 27. So she is a millennial.
Mm-hmm.
And, she's been in a committed relationship for 4 years. Birth control really isn't, she can handle that. She on the other hand, she is concerned about the prices that she's paying for her health insurance, and they're going to be going up because my 27-year-old daughter, who's just starting out, is going to be expected as a young, healthy individual to start paying for her grandmother's health insurance. And her grandfather's health insurance.
That's the only way the math works, is if young, healthy people pay in. But here's my message to every woman. Are you kidding me? I got to buy your birth control? But trust me, if you're in a bar and you tell a guy, yeah, I'm all in as long as you provide the birth control, he'll do it. He will drive 50 miles to find a drugstore and take care of this. Ladies, if you can't forget the dinner and the drinks. If you can't get him to pony up for the condom, you got serious problems already.
Michael, thank you again, sir. It's always good talking to you.
Thank you.
All right, Michael Graham joining us from the New England Talk Network.